The unwanted dockerage on the market was crowded with aliens from all over the galaxy, their bright scales and strange eyes reflecting the sunlight in the middle of the chaos. Kale, the human mechanic, stood quietly, his hands greasy from fixing old machines. He was small and ordinary by alien standards, but his mind worked faster than any tech scanner. Today, Kale was here for a test no human had ever passed. He needed to choose a dragon for the upcoming intergalactic trials, but every alien in the arena laughed at him. Why give him one of ours? They whispered. He cannot handle even a weak dragon. When the cages opened, the dragon stepped forward with pride, scales shining, wings stretching tall. But one cage was different. Hidden in the corner, covered in shadows, inside was a strange creature, a pale, albino dragon with broken wings and scars across her neck. Her eyes were small, but bright with fear, and she could barely lift her head. The crowd laughed loudly, pointing at Kale. "Take her if you dare," they jeered. "She is useless." Kale walked slowly toward the cage, ignoring their mockery. He looked into the dragon's frightened eyes, and saw something the aliens did not. A spark of life, stubborn and quiet, refusing to die. He unlocked the cage and the dragon stumbled forward, almost falling. Her movements were awkward, broken, and she hissed, showing sharp teeth that seemed sharper because they were few. Kale knelt down and whispered softly, "We will make you fly again." The crowd laughed even louder, shaking their heads, thinking the human was insane. Kale led her to the training yard, where machines and gadgets hummed with energy. He examined her wings carefully, noticing cracks in the bones and torn membranes. Every alien watching thought it was impossible. "How can a human fix that?" they murmured, but Kale's mind raced with ideas, each one more daring than the last. He pulled out a small device, shaped like a glowing orb. It could strengthen muscles and repair minor injuries, something no alien technology could do. The dragon hissed and tried to run, but Kale moved slowly, showing no fear. He attached tiny sensors to her wings, careful not to hurt her. Her eyes widened, but she did not resist. Something in Kale's calm voice made her trust him. The aliens around were whispering now, some curious, some still mocking. Kale looked at the dragon and smiled. "They do not see what I see, but that is okay. We have our chance," he said softly. The dragon lowered her head, almost as if she understood him. Her tail flicked once, a small sign of acceptance, a small victory. Kale knew this was only the beginning. She could not fly yet, and every alien believed she never would. But he had a plan, and he had time. He would not let anyone tell him what was impossible. And as the sun set over the arena, the pale dragon lifted her head slightly, watching the sky for the first time in her life. She dreamed of flying again. The crowd went home laughing, thinking the human and the crippled dragon were a joke. But Kale stayed, studying her, planning the impossible, and somewhere deep in her small, broken heart, the dragon understood one truth: this human would never give up on her. And maybe, just maybe, she could fly again. The secret PLN. Kale woke early the next day, the pale dragon lying quietly beside him, her wings folded and weak. He called her Lyra, a name that seemed to fit her delicate, ghostly beauty. The other humans would have given up, but Kale never did. He studied Lyra carefully, running his fingers over her fragile wings, feeling the cracks and tears. He whispered, "We can fix this, little one. We just need time and patience." Lyra hissed softly but stayed still, trusting him in a way no alien had earned. Kale knew he needed more than just care. He needed technology, something powerful, something clever. In his small workshop, hidden under the human colony, he opened a dusty crate he had never used before. Inside were strange devices, human inventions abandoned long ago, some for repairing machines, some for experiments. One device caught his eye, a glowing, humming orb, shaped like a miniature sun. It could enhance strength, repair bones, even stimulate healing faster than nature. Kale had never tried it on a living creature, but he believed in human ingenuity. He carefully prepared the orb, explaining to Lyra as if she could understand every word. "Hold still. This will help your wings grow strong," he said, attaching tiny wires and sensors. Lyra flinched at first, pulling her wings back, but Kale remained calm. He spoke softly, moving slowly, until she stopped resisting, letting him work. Hours passed, and Kale watched the orb's energy flow into her wings. Her muscles twitched, bones creaked, and slowly, tiny movements became stronger. Kale smiled. but he knew this was only the first step. She would not fly today, or even tomorrow, but he had planted the seed of hope. The aliens who had mocked him gathered outside, curious now, their laughter replaced by whispers. Is he really making her fly? One asked, skeptical. Kale ignored them, focusing on Lyra, learning her reactions, noting her strength and fear. He sketched ideas for a harness, a small flying suit powered by human tech, something no alien had thought possible. Lyra watched him work, tilting her head, as if understanding that this human was different. She did not fear him now. She felt the determination in his eyes, the endless patience in his hands. Kale whispered, "Tomorrow, we try the harness. We see if we can touch the sky. But first, we build trust. We learn together." Night fell over the colony, and the stars shone above like diamonds. Lyra lay beside Kale, wings still weak but twitching with energy. He looked at the sky and imagined her flying, soaring above alien cities, free and strong. A spark of excitement grew inside him. This was more than a dragon, more than a challenge. This was a chance to prove that humans could do what others thought impossible. Kale did not sleep that night, planning every detail, testing every part of the orb and harness in his mind. He imagined obstacles, strong winds, alien redditors, failed experiments, but he refused to let fear stop him. He knew that with patience, cleverness, and trust, Lyra could rise again. As dawn approached, Lyra stretched her tiny wings, weak but hopeful. Kale smiled and whispered, "Tomorrow, we fly." The aliens outside still doubted, laughing quietly to themselves, but Kale did not care. He had a plan, he had hope, and together, he and Lyra would begin a journey no one would forget. The first flight, ATTMP. The morning sun lit the training yard with a soft orange glow. Kale was ready, standing beside Lyra, who stretched her pale, fragile wings. Today was the day of the first flight attempt, the moment that could prove everything or fail completely. Kale had built a small harness, light but strong, with human technology hidden inside. It would support her wings, add strength, and protect her if she fell. Lyra watched him nervously, her tail flicking, her eyes wide with fear and curiosity. Kale knelt and whispered, "Trust me, Lyra, you can do this." She lowered her head slightly, trembling but letting him fasten the harness around her. The aliens gathered around the yard, some curious, some laughing quietly. "Watch this. The human thinks he can make a broken dragon fly," they muttered. Kale ignored them, focusing on Lyra, adjusting the sensors carefully. He activated the orb, sending energy into her wings. Lyra's muscles twitched, her wings lifted slightly, but she could not hold them steady. Kale stepped back and spoke softly, "You can do it, little one. Just try." Lyra took a small step forward, stumbled, and almost fell. The crowd gasped, thinking this was the end, but Kale stayed calm, encouraging her, moving closer with open hands. Lyra shook her head, flapped her wings weakly, then froze, unsure. Kale whispered, "Again, try again." With a deep breath, Lyra pushed off the ground, her wings beating frantically. The harness helped, but she could only stay in the air for a few seconds. She fell, rolling on the soft ground, and Kale rushed to her side, checking her for injuries. The crowd laughed and shook their heads, but Kale smiled. This was the first step, and it was perfect, he said softly. Lyra blinked at him, understanding in a small way that this was only the beginning. Kale helped her stand and tried again, adjusting the harness slightly. This time, she lifted higher, flapping harder, her wings stronger. For a few heartbeats, she stayed in the air, hovering, wobbling, but flying. The aliens gasped, their laughter replaced with shock. Some muttered, "Impossible. How is this human doing it?" Kale stayed calm, guiding her with his voice and gentle hand movements. Lyra began to trust him more, following his directions, flapping her wings with more confidence. But the flight was not perfect. She wobbled, drifted sideways, almost hitting the fence. Kale shouted, "Steady, steady." She landed awkwardly but safely, her heart racing, her eyes shining with excitement. Kale patted her head. "Well done, Lyra. You did it. You really did it." The aliens were silent now, watching closely, realizing that human skill and care were more powerful than they had expected. Lyra's tail flicked happily, her wings trembling but stronger than before. Kale whispered, "This is only the first flight, little one. Soon you will soar. We will keep trying, no matter what." As the sun set, casting long shadows over the yard, Lyra looked at the sky with longing, and Cale knew that the journey had truly begun. The first flight had succeeded, but the greatest challenges were still ahead. The bond for G. The morning air was cool and quiet in the human colony. Cale sat beside Lyra as she stretched her wings, small feathers twitching nervously. The first flight had been short, but it had changed everything. Now, trust and patience would matter more than strength. Cale carefully checked her wings, feeling the tiny muscles grow stronger each day. He whispered softly, "You are doing well, Lyra. Better than I could have imagined." Lyra blinked slowly, tilting her head, watching him closely. She no longer hissed when he came near. Instead, she let him touch her wings and tail, a small sign that trust was forming. Cale worked quietly in his workshop, designing better harnesses, small tools to help her flight. He ran simulations, tested energy flows, and sketched new ideas on metal plates. Lyra watched him constantly, sometimes stepping closer, sometimes nuzzling his hand. A connection was growing between them, one built on patience, care, and understanding. At night, Cale would tell her stories of human inventions and old wars. He spoke of human bravery, cleverness, and resilience. Lyra listened, her small ears twitching, her eyes wide. She seemed to understand, as if human ingenuity could give her the strength to fly. One afternoon, Cale noticed a scar on her wing that he had not seen before. It was deep and jagged, a memory of the injuries she had suffered. He touched it gently. "You have survived so much, Lyra, but together, we will rise above this," he said softly. Lyra lowered her head, almost as if she understood, almost as if she thanked him. Days passed, and their bond grew stronger. Cale learned her moods, the way her tail flicked when she was happy or scared. He adjusted his plans according to her needs, never forcing her. Lyra began flapping her wings with more confidence. Following his directions without hesitation, the aliens began to notice the change, whispering among themselves, "This human, he is not just lucky, he is clever, patient," one said quietly. Cale ignored them, focusing on Lyra, teaching her each day, and slowly, he began to believe that she could fly longer than ever imagined. One evening, as the sun set and painted the sky with gold and purple, Cale and Lyra stood on a small cliff at the edge of the colony. The wind blew softly, rustling her pale wings. Cale whispered, "Look at the sky, Lyra. It is waiting for you. Soon, we will fly higher than ever before." Lyra flapped her wings once, testing the strength. Her eyes shone with a new determination, a spark Cale had never seen before. The bond between human and dragon was more than trust now. It was hope, courage, and the promise of something extraordinary. Cale smiled. "We are ready, little one. The world will see what we can do." And for the first time, Lyra spread her wings fully. She looked to the sky, and her heart seemed to whisper, "I am ready." The test of HFY. The morning air was thick with tension. Cale and Lyra stood on the cliff, the wind strong and cold. Today would not be a short flight. This was the real test. A flight over the dangerous alien canyon. Every alien in the colony had gathered below, some curious, some doubting. All eyes were on the human mechanic and his fragile albino dragon. Cale adjusted the harness one last time, checking every wire and sensor. He whispered, "We can do this, Lyra. Trust yourself." "Trust me." Lyra flapped her wings once, then twice, muscles taut but ready. Her pale scales glimmered in the sunlight, and for a moment, she seemed bigger than she had ever been. With a deep breath, Cale stepped back, signaling her to jump. Lyra pushed off the cliff, wings flapping frantically at first. The wind tore at her, twisting her body, but the harness held strong. The crowd gasped as she struggled, swaying dangerously above the jagged rocks below. Cale shouted instructions, guiding her with careful, steady words. "Up, stronger, keep your wings steady." Lyra obeyed, slowly lifting higher, her movements becoming more confident. But the canyon was unforgiving. Gusts of wind, threatening to knock her off course. A sudden swoop of alien predators appeared from the cliffs, sharp claws ready to strike. Cale's heart pounded, but he did not panic. He activated a small device on the harness, sending a surge of energy into her wings. Lyra responded immediately, flapping faster, her body twisting, dodging the predators. She dodged one, then another, until they gave up, circling away, confused by her agility. The crowd below was silent now, watching in shock. No human or dragon had ever survived such a dangerous flight. Cale guided her over jagged cliffs and narrow canyons, his voice calm and steady. "Trust yourself, Lyra. You are stronger than anyone thinks," he said softly. Lyra's wings began to carry her naturally, the harness supporting but not controlling. She flapped hard, soaring above the canyon like a ghost of silver and white. For a few breathtaking minutes, they flew together, human and dragon united. Every twist, turn, and dive was perfect, a dance of courage and skill. Cale felt a surge of pride and relief. Lyra's eyes shone with triumph. A silent scream of joy carried on the wind. Finally, as they reached the far edge of the canyon, Lyra landed safely on a rocky plateau. Her wings trembled but held strong, her chest heaving with exhaustion and pride. Cale knelt beside her, patting her head gently. "You did it, Lyra. You really did it," he whispered. The aliens around were stunned, some clapping quietly, some speechless. The human mechanic had turned the impossible into reality. Cale looked up at the sky, imagining Lyra flying even higher one day. She had passed the test, and together they had shown the galaxy what human ingenuity and courage could do. The bond they had forged, built on trust and patience, had conquered danger, fear, and doubt. Lyra flapped her wings once more, looking at the horizon, ready for whatever came next, and Cale knew that this was only the beginning of their extraordinary journey.